you don't actually control how money moves. Every time you swipe a card, take a loan, or invest a dollar, your money passes through systems you never chose, systems designed long before you were born. Most people think money is neutral, that it simply exists, that banks, loans, and interest rates are just part of life. But money doesn't move randomly. It moves through structures, and whoever designs those structures gets paid every time money passes through them. Here's the part most people never realize. One family helped design large parts of modern banking, influenced gold markets for over a century, and became so essential that entire governments depended on them. They didn't rule countries, they didn't command armies, and they didn't need elections. They simply positioned themselves inside the financial system and stayed there for more than 250 years. Today, I'll show you how they did it, why their strategy still affects your money today, and why real financial power almost never looks powerful. Once you understand this, you'll never see money the same way again. Every financial system you use today was designed by someone. At some point, people made decisions about how money would move, who could access it, and who would profit from it. In the late 1700s, international banking barely existed. Moving money across borders was slow, risky, and unreliable. It could take months, and sometimes the money never arrived at all. Merchants relied on trust, governments relied on local lenders, and wars were financed inefficiently and expensively. Then one man had a different idea. In the 18th century Frankfurt, a banker named Mayer Amschel Rothschild sent his 5 sons to 5 major financial cities: Frankfurt, London, Paris, Vienna, and Naples. Each son opened a bank, and each stayed in constant contact with the others. Instead of working independently, they worked as a single network. For the first time in history, money could move across Europe quickly, not through governments, but through a private family system. This was revolutionary. Governments needed funding, merchants needed capital, and empires needed money to survive. This family became the bridge connecting all of it. Then came the Napoleonic Wars, and Europe fell into chaos. Borders closed, currencies fluctuated wildly, and gold became extremely difficult and dangerous to transport. Many banks collapsed under the pressure, but this family didn't. They could move money when others couldn't, provide credit when governments were desperate, and transport gold across borders using trusted internal channels. They financed multiple countries, sometimes even opposing sides, not out of ideology, but necessity. Whoever needed capital, they provided it. When the wars ended, governments didn't stop borrowing, businesses didn't stop expanding, and trade didn't slow down. The family didn't disappear. They remained indispensable because alternatives barely existed. By the mid-1800s, they had become the largest private banking operation in the world. They didn't dominate by force. They dominated by being useful, reliable, fast, and positioned where money had to pass. Most people assume their greatest strength was money, but it wasn't. Their real advantage was information. Before telegraphs, before phones, and before the internet, information traveled slowly, and whoever knew news first had an enormous advantage. They built Europe's fastest private communication network using dedicated couriers, signal systems, encrypted messages, and trusted agents across countries. In 1815, this advantage became legendary. The Battle of Waterloo would decide Europe's future and global financial markets. Bond prices depended on the outcome, currencies depended on the outcome, and governments depended on the outcome. Their agents learned the result before official messengers, before governments, and before stock exchanges. That early knowledge allowed faster decisions. Not manipulation, not control, just speed. And speed compounds. Better information leads to better positioning. Better positioning attracts more capital strengthens the network, and stronger networks generate even better information. This feedback loop lasted for generations. At this point, it's time to name them. The Rothschild family. One of the most influential financial dynasties in history, but the name matters less than the method, because the method didn't disappear. It evolved. Their influence didn't come from hoarding money. It came from designing systems. One of their most important innovations was international bond markets. Before this, governments borrowed mostly from local lenders, which limited how much money they could raise. The Rothschilds changed that by allowing governments to raise capital internationally. French investors could buy British bonds, British investors could finance foreign governments, and capital flowed across borders more efficiently than ever before. The family positioned themselves as the middle layer between governments and investors, and between borrowers and lenders. They earned fees on issuance, fees on distribution, and fees on trading. They also played a major role in commodity finance. For decades, gold price discussions took place in their London offices. Being central to price discovery doesn't mean control, it means visibility, and visibility creates advantage. They applied the same strategy to railways, mining, and early oil finance. Always the same logic: position yourself where money must pass. Most people never knew their role. Farmers didn't see the bonds behind wars, workers didn't see the capital behind factories, and shoppers didn't see the financial systems behind prices. The family stayed private, avoided flashy branding, avoided public campaigns, and never needed attention. When economic frustration rises, people blame visible targets like politicians, corporations, or local banks. Structural power stays invisible, and that invisibility is the feature, not the flaw. Quiet systems face less resistance, and quiet power lasts longer. This story isn't just history, it's a blueprint. Modern finance works the same way. A few institutions dominate global banking, a few networks process most payments, and a few agencies determine creditworthiness. You don't choose these systems, you must use them. Every swipe, loan, and transfer generates fees that quietly flow to the middle layers through credit cards, banking networks, payment processors, and clearinghouses. Over a lifetime, this costs thousands of dollars per person, not because of wrongdoing, but because of structure, because someone positioned themselves between you and what you need. Once you see the pattern, you see it everywhere: technology platforms, payment networks, online marketplaces, and data ecosystems. The strategy is simple. Identify essential systems, position yourself as the gatekeeper, charge for access, stay indispensable, and think in decades, not quarters. This is how lasting financial power is built. Not loudly, not publicly, but quietly. This isn't about fear, and it isn't about blame. It's about understanding. Financial systems are designed, not neutral. Those designs shape your options, and those who control structure earn consistently. You may not change the system, but understanding it changes how you navigate it. And once you see the structure underneath money, you can't unsee it. If you want more stories about how money and power really work, subscribe, because the most influential forces shaping your finances rarely ask for attention.